The whistlers and the mockers can be found in the dark of the holler. When the wind steals and a voice calls out your name, you best be sure it's got a face to match.
Jason, come here.
It's not uncommon in the Appalachian backwoods to hear strange things. Voices where there are no people, whispers that echo your own, or the lonely cry of a child when there are no houses for miles.
Jason, come here.
Some call them mimics, others call them spirits, but here in these mountains, we know them as the whistlers, and worse, the mockers. I'm J-Rod, and in this episode, we dive into the deep, dark hollers of the Appalachian Mountains, where folks say there are things calling out their name in the still of the night. Things that shouldn't be there. Things that whisper at the back of your neck when you think you're alone. Welcome to Hollow Light, where the veil is thin, the stories begin. Appalachian folklore. In these mountains, tales are older than the trees themselves, and some of the most whispered warnings passed down by elders sound simple until you hear them for yourself.
Don't you go answering voices from the woods, not unless you see a mouth speaking it.
Stories of spirits and creatures that mimic voices aren't new here. They've been called the whistlers, the mockers, even the hollow echoes in some parts of the Blue Ridge. They call to you softly at first, like a lost child or a familiar loved one. But if you answer back, they answer too. Some believe they're spirits of the lost. Others say they're never human things that wear voices like masks, hoping you'll follow. And the whistle? Well, that's the warning. Once you hear it, it already knows where you are. In the old tales, answering back could get you taken, or worse, copied. That's why every local knows.
If the woods speak, hush your mouth and keep walking.
First-hand encounter, the crying child. It was early October when Kevin Morgan, a seasoned backpacker from Tennessee, took a solo trip into the Appalachian wilds, something he'd done dozens of times before.
I was about a day's hike in, then no one else around. Set up camp, had my fire going, then I heard it. It sounded like a little kid crying, like way off trail, like they were hurt. I yelled out, "Are you okay?" And I swear to you, the voice answered back, but it said exactly what I had said. "Are you okay?" I stood still, waiting. I called again, and it copied me again. The same pitch, same words, just wrong.
Compelled by concern and a sense of unease, Kevin moved toward the voice. But the deeper he went, the more he realized the crying wasn't getting closer.
If I'd taken one more step, I would have gone straight over. And then I heard it behind me now. Same voice. I ran. I don't camp alone anymore.
It didn't want help. It wanted Kevin to follow. The voice of the lost. For some, the voices don't come from the woods, but from the past. Echoes of people they knew and lost. This next account comes from a woman we'll call Ellen, She grew up in the mountains outside of Boone, North Carolina. Her older brother Micah died when she was 14, and she never forgot the sound of his voice.
I was in my late 30s when I first heard it again. Middle of the night. I was in bed and I heard him, Micah that is. He was outside and he was calling my name.
Ellen? Hey, Ellen, come here.
It was his voice. Same tone, same drawl, same way he used to say my name.
She nearly opened the door, but something made her stop.
When I didn't answer, the voice got sharper, almost irritated, and that's when I knew.
Ellen, I said come here.
I backed away, and I didn't sleep the rest of the night.
The next morning, she found footprints in the dew, human-shaped, but they were too long, they were too wide, and they stopped halfway through the yard, as if whoever had made them simply vanished.
I don't think it was Micah. I think it wore him.
Grief can open doors, and sometimes it's too many. The Whistler of Chestnut Ridge. Chestnut Ridge, a 70-mile stretch of rugged forest and sandstone that cuts through southwestern Pennsylvania, is a hotspot for high strangeness, UFOs, cryptids, vanishing lights, and one sound heard more than any other: whistling. James and Teresa G., along with their teenage son, heard the same whistle for 3 nights in a row, always between midnight and 3 a.m.
It wasn't like someone whistling a tune, just 2 notes, low, high, low, over and over.
The first night, they thought it was someone walking the trail behind their home. The second night, the sound came from both sides of the house. The third night, it came from above.
I grabbed the flashlight and went outside. I didn't see anyone, but our dog wouldn't come off the porch.
That thing loves to bark, but that night she just stared at the roof. She wouldn't make a sound.
A neighbor, alerted by James's call, spotted something from across the yard.
I don't know what I saw, but it was hunched, squat and pale. And when my light hit it, it didn't move. It just watched me.
The next day, they found muddy streaks leading from the woods straight up the rain gutter.
We moved 2 months later. Never heard it again.
Sometimes it's a warning, other times it's a lure. Light the lantern. Some say the forest echoes are nothing more than tricks of sound. The wind slipping between branches, the cry of a fox mistaken for a child. And maybe that's true, but stories from these hills stretch back generations, too many to count and too similar to ignore. Voices that mimic, whistles that wander, and shadows that answer when you speak. If you find yourself deep in the woods and something calls you by name, remember this: don't answer. Not unless you can see the face behind the voice. Have you ever heard your name called in the deep Appalachian woods? If so, post it below. I want to hear your story. And if you've made it this far in the video, please type Whistler in the comments below. Please like and subscribe for more tales from the Vale. God bless, stay prayed up, and remember, some lights are meant to guide you home, while others are warnings.